Welcome back, artists, and welcome to another edition of Art at Home with me, Miss Wegman. This week we are going to take that desert landscape that we drew together last time and we're going to add some color to it. Some parts of this video are going to be sped up so that you're not just watching an entire video of me coloring, but some parts I'm going to kind of break down different ways you could color it or ways you can create colors just in case you don't have all of them already. I'm working with a big 50 colored pencil box from Crayola, so I know that not everybody has those. So I'm going to show you how you can mix some colors to make what you need. First thing I'm actually going to start with is my desert. Now, deserts are primarily dirt and sand, and even though I do literally have a color called sand, this isn't quite a seascape, it's not quite a picture of a beach. I want my color to be a little more earthy, so I'm going to I have a light brown, and I'm also going to take a yellow. And I don't want to use either one of these on their own because that would look kind of silly, but if I blend them together, I can create the color that I need. So I'm actually going to start with the yellow. And I'm going to very lightly, you're not pressing too hard, very lightly color. Now, another thing that's important about coloring any kind of landscape is the direction that you color in. I'm not going to color up and down. I'm not going to start going in lots of different directions. If I want to make this look realistic, I want to move with the way that the land would look. And then I'm going to take my light brown. You could also do this with a regular brown. Very lightly. Again, always lightly. You don't want to be pressing super hard. You should never be pressing so hard that you would ever actually break your colored pencil. That's not good. If I do pull out my sand colored pencil, I just want to show you on the other side. You know, yeah, it kind of achieves that look, but I want kind of a little bit more of a, you know, dirt look for my desert landscape. I'm kind of thinking desert as in, like, you know, out west in the United States, like Arizona, places like that. Alright, so now that I've filled in my desert, I'm going to start filling in some of my little objects here. Now, something that's interesting that can help make your landscape look a little bit more realistic is the colors that you use in terms of whether or not they're lighter or darker. So to make my landscape look a little bit more realistic, I'm actually going to make the cactus here, that's a lot closer to me, a little bit, not so much darker, but more vibrant. So I'm going to use like 2 different greens in this one. I'm using kind of this olivey green for the moment to start. And then I'm going to take this yellow green. And I'm just going to make this cacti that's really close, darker, more vibrant, make it pop out a little more. But as I move towards these guys that are a little bit further away, I'm not going to care as much. Like this guy that's all the way back here, I'm just going to color him in, you know, very lightly. Not a lot of detail, just kind of leave it there. But like, you know, this guy I might press down just a smidge harder, just to make him a little bit darker. I even have other greens. Where's my dark green? Here it is. You know, I might even make this guy a completely different shade of green just to change it up a little bit, but it's a little darker and pops out a little more just to show that these are further away and these are getting a little bit closer. Now, since I have my car and my road here, I'm going to complete the bottom half of my project first, and then I'll move on to my mountains, and I'm going to slow it down again for you to do my sunset sky. Now, my road, I could do this, you know, a bunch of different ways. It could be a dirt road, a dirt path, but since I have enough like dirt and sand going on here, I'm actually going to make this into, you know, kind of a road. So I'm just going to go in with a black colored pencil and color in this road. I've pulled out a bunch of different colors I'm going to use for my mountains. I've got a dark brown, regular brown, light brown. I've got my tan for some spots, and I even have this reddish mahogany color. It's kind of like a reddish brown. So I'm just going to play around with that and see what it looks like. But if you only have the basics, those will be totally fine. And even if you only have a brown colored pencil, depending on how hard or soft you press on it, you could literally make these three mountains look completely different if you really wanted to. Almost done. As you can see, I did my mountains. I did have a lot of different browns in there, just mixing things up, making colors up. I threw in a little bit of that mahogany color, even though you can do that with red if you colored really lightly too. Red and brown, you kind of get a mahogany color. All right, so now, last step, my sky. Now I don't just want to make this a plain old blue sky. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but what would be the fun of that, right? So I am going to use my colored pencils to create a sunset. So I'm going to start compiling some of my colors that I have, you know, sunset colors. So I'm going to work my way back. Now we're going to pretend that we can't see our sun. It's already behind the mountains. So we're going to work our way up into our night sky. So I'm going to have just a smidge of yellow. I've got some oranges, reds. Red orange is a fantastic color for a sunset. Also going to have a little bit of sky blue, regular blue. And I'm also going to have a smidge of violet. If you've ever actually really looked at a full range sunset sky, you can see it, almost the sky looks so blue, it almost looks a little purple really, really near the top when you've got all the other colors from the sunset bouncing off of it. So I'm going to put those to the side and I'm going to start to work my way across. Now, one of the tricky parts about this is I do still want to keep my pencil strokes going horizontally like I did with my desert. So I'm going to try and keep everything as horizontal as possible, although sometimes I might have to change my direction just ever so slightly. Now I seem to have lost a good deal of my orange, so I'm going to go back in, and this is where I can start to darken it up a little bit, make it a little more bold, make it stick out a little bit more. Again, continuing to stay horizontal. You may have noticed I stopped holding my pencil like a regular pencil. I actually started holding my pencil near the end because then I know I won't press as hard. I'm going to press harder if I'm holding it here, but if you're holding it at the end, you're not putting all of your strength into the tip of the pencil, and you'll also be less likely to break it. And there is your realistic looking sunset sky for your desert landscapes. And that's it. That is how you make a desert landscape. If you want to add a couple more little creatures, things you might want to stick in your drawing, go right ahead. But I used colored pencils. I find that for these types of results, using anything that blends is your best bet. So colored pencils, you could even do this with crayon, completely doable with crayon. Or if you manage to do your desert landscape on a thicker piece of paper, you could also do the same thing with watercolor paints or regular paints, whatever floats your boat. So again, as always, use what you have fun, be creative. You can always pause and rewind the video to go back and watch at any time. And I hope that you have fun, and I can't wait to see your desert landscapes. See you soon, artists!